All right, so my name's Rob Mitchell, and I'm a spoken word artist, filmmaker, that kind of thing. A lot of my work over the years has been around looking at transatlantic slavery and looking at the re-narrative, if you like, of how black African people are treated in society or seen in society. The importance of today is to recognise the very high-profile, significant murder of George Floyd, which is high profile but by no means unique and represents systematic and ongoing. As Jonathan Cockburn said, there's been many deaths in police custody since then, and even in the UK, which we don't really hear about. So it's important to mark this high profile murder by doing this vigil today, partly in remembrance of someone who's lost their life, but also in the millions who've lost their lives, not just through a act of police brutality, but even the transatlantic enslavement and slavery and abuse and degradation that's gone before that. It's led to the place where George Floyd and people like him, African people, can be debased in such a way. So today it was important to not see it disappear and just be another day on the calendar, but recognise that that thing that happened in Minneapolis on the 25th of May shifted the world consciousness. Everybody was in the middle of lockdown at the time, so there was much more of a sense of people had time, they could see what was going on, had time to engage with something rather than the usual hustle and bustle. And one of the things I say, which sounds flippant but it isn't, I think there was a moment where I think everybody understood what it was like to go out and be potentially suspicious just for walking the street under lockdown. So I think that those factors really played some very powerful nexus, which meant that the world responded in a way which I don't think we've ever seen before. Since then, I think we've seen a shift in consciousness, and you've got everybody talking about Black Lives Matter. We were driving through Backwell the other day, and up on a post that says Black Lives Matter. Every window says Black Lives Matter. So that notion has gone way beyond the organisation calling themselves Black Lives Matter, which sets up at the back of Breonna Taylor. But I think it's become something now which is, let's call it, more mainstream. That's not meant to degrade it. I think that's a good thing in the shift in consciousness. I think there's still a lot of narrative, a lot of understanding, lots of conversation to be had about what these things mean. And the actual felling of Colston statue, which happened on the 7th of June, is something that's directly related to what happened to George Floyd, in the sense that at the very least he's African American. He wouldn't be African American if it hadn't been for the slavery and Colston, etc. So today is the beginning of a series of events which will lead up to the 7th of June that mark that time in such a way where we can sort of get our emotions out, we can share our support and celebrate as well some of that shift in consciousness and celebrate the resistance that's come about as a result of that too.